We've been thinking about community in terms of how we can support that intelligence that's in us that leads to being the genius, the spiritual genius. That's a seed. Why would you deny that? But it's covered up with things that you feel that you have to do or want or desire or whatever. Like, what is the real purpose and what does it require? And as a community, what does it require to help each other evolve? How do the emotions take over? How do the desires take over? How does your imagination imagine that your life is going to be better? That, you don't really have time for spiritual life. You have to concentrate on something else. And so all of these things can work. Very, very basic things can work against the very purpose that you have, because the energy isn't sexual or fantasy or exciting or fearful or doubtful. The energy is neutral, and it's how you use it. So I can remember those first days when we did the work bees together, and it was the other end of the season, it was in the fall, and just gathering the fruit and working together, and that sense that the work was so joyful and so fruitful for each one of us in our reflections, in what we could observe and how we worked together and how we were learning to work together, how the work seemed to be effortless because we were doing it together in some way. Not that we weren't tired by the end of the day, but it wasn't that. There was something that carried us as a group. And so that's always available to us. And when we see the community grow, like communities outside come inside and become part of everything, then it's just like an abundance has come. It's like everything gets done in its own time. So it's to bring those qualities of mother. When Swami Radha was here, she was called Mataji. She was the mother of the ashram. She looked after us all. And she looked after the teachings, and she brought the teachings in a way, like we were the children, that needed to know, and she could give us those teachings. And she gave them in many ways, because there's many ways that we have to learn, many ways that we have to enter in. And so the teachings allow that. And that part of caring is in each one of us. How we can care for each other and understand and listen and observe and be straight. The other part about being in a community too is just how we observe the use of our energy and how we have to, if we're on our own, we can do what we like. If we're in a community, we have to think about others. We have to think about others in terms of our physical energy, because we can get going and get working and get all tired out and grumpy and do things that aren't helpful to everyone around us or ourselves too. We can use our emotional energy in the same way, that we can draw people in or use our emotions to get what we want, rather than thinking them through, seeing what they are, really, and saying, just like you would to a child, get in the corner. I don't need that right now. I have something else inside me. I have an intelligence that doesn't need to be caught up in those. We have to rein in our desires, sexual, food-wise, Like all of these things are part of how we live together, so that we're not just going out, we're living as a community. So we regulate our energy, we become aware of our energy. Even in communication, that's one of the main things that keeps coming up as part of a community is communications. Like how do we speak to each other, communicate the important things that are going on, and be open? Like some of the things that just happen to us, we don't realize that we're thinking about something or something's upsetting us, that other people don't notice that we're upset. We just think that we're fine, and we say we're fine, but other people wonder. So we have to communicate even very personal things, because it's experienced by everyone in the group. And another thing that's always interesting in a group, and a group like us living together at the ashram, is how we have to be aware of our financial energy, our financial status, our finances, because they're very important too. And so we have to look after each other, but we have to look after the ashram. And Swami Radha said that as a group community, as a group, to reflect was most important. To take that time to reflect, because it'll lift you out of whatever the pressures are, whether they're pressures from your peers, from your families, from that part of you that just wants to grumble and grouch. There's another part when you sit down and listen to it that'll take you to another place. It's there, that's its job, is to lift you up. So it really requires your own commitment, your own individual recognition that there's something more to you. And that's the evolution. And that's what Swami Radha said over and over. That's the purpose, is to evolve. And if we're here together to encourage that in each other, then that is what we can do. That's our best work we can do. So the strength is in the numbers of people thinking in the same way, supporting each other, caring for each other. So Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om. Om Tara.